Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we're seeing green. We're not talking Kermit or cash or ecologically sustainable business practices. We're talking emeralds. This magic word will give you power, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society will give you power with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I'm joined, as I'm always joined by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including a little post-Nintendo Direct cleanup. And then on Thursday, we are actually going to be doing the wows and whiffs of the first 3 months of Switch 2. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. I mean, if you're going to have a topic episode preempted by something, having to be preempted by a Nintendo Direct's not too bad.
Yeah, an hour-long Nintendo Direct, even better. Mark, so as you know, I've been reading my way through the Star Wars comics. The, canon Marvel Star Wars comics. And I am discovering because I've got these big collections of them. I read them originally when they were coming out digitally. And so I'm discovering that there are issues that I had not read, including Star Wars Annual number 2 from 2017 or something like this. And it features a character who would you say prior to the Marvel relaunch, who was the most popular hero extended universe character?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. My knowledge of the extended universe is basically zero.
But what is one thing that you and I like to talk about sometimes on this show that is extended universe from that time?
I don't know.
Nintendo 64
I'm freaking
game.
out. Oh, okay. Dash Rendar?
Dash Rendar.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I was trying to drive you towards. This character's name in the Star Wars Annual number 2 is not Dash, but it is Bash, B-A-S-H. But Bash is a nickname because her real name is Pash Devane. I'm just trying to get your reaction to, there's a character whose real name is Pash, but her nickname is Bash for reasons unrelated to her name being Pash.
Yeah. And is she, violent?
She is violent,
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Right.
I feel lukewarm on the whole thing.
She appears in one issue, and as far as I can tell, does not appear in anything else.
So you're going to get her tattooed on your inner thigh is what you're driving to,
she's
right?
my new best friend. Yeah. I don't know. There are things as I'm going back through this. I really like the comics, but every now and then, I land on a real stinker or something where I'm just like, what? Why? What? And this Pash. Hold on. I had her last name up here. Pash Devane, aka Bash. Was just a confusing one.
Oh,
to me.
yeah, this is a real raspberry seed in your tooth, isn't it? I can tell that this really bothers you.
I don't like it. And you don't have to not like it, Mark. That's fine. If people would like to head on over to our Patreon, they can support us, patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if they're supporting us the 8 or 16-bit level, get access to miniseries we do, like NCS at the movies.
Yes, that is our current miniseries where Patrick and I, and sometimes a special guest, are going to see movies together in the theater. And then we're talking about them. We've done episodes on Superman. We've done episodes on the Fantastic Four First Steps, The Naked Gun, and we're going to be doing one battle after another that comes out in just a few weeks. So it's been a lot of fun. You should check that out.
Check that out. Also, if you're not in the Discord already, you should email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
And we will send you an invitation to hang out there with us. Obviously, a place where we've been talking about and unpacking all of the news from the Nintendo Direct. Some of our topics from in the newsletter brought to our attention by conversation in the Discord.
I think I would have liked Pash Devane better if she was, in fact, related to Dash Rendar, and so it was Pash Rendar. That's the woman
the naming convention.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. I would have liked that too. And I wonder, Pash Devane, but then also there's enough flexibility and she bashes someone once, so she gets called Bash. If they were just we'll set her up here And then if she like ever moves really quickly through a space, they can change her nickname to Dash.
Oh, that would be a twist. Like how in the first Spider-Man: Homecoming movie, they're like, is this Mary Jane? Is it not? And then, yeah, exactly.
Maybe this is what they were going to do and then just never revisited the concept.
Oh, sure,
that they were like, here is Dash Rendar pre-transition.
Exactly. I think that these are seeds that have been planted for, because if Pash never shows up anywhere else ever,
right?
Like for another author to pick up in the future.
Yeah. So that's okay. Now I'm all turned around on it. Now I like it. Speaking of things that now I like, you can. I was on Jeremy's Video Games a Comedy show on Monday this week, talking about the Nintendo Direct. Mark, I left here on Friday talking about the Nintendo Direct with you. Then went back to my house and talked about it with Jeremy. All of Friday was the Nintendo Direct.
Incredible.
So check that out. We had a fun conversation. But Mark, you and I can have a fun conversation about what we've been playing this week. And I was playing, Mark, Donkey Kong Bananza, the DK Island, and Emerald Rush when I saw a little notification in the corner of my screen saying, oh, Mark is playing Kirby and the Forgotten Land plus Starcross World. So I want to hear about your experience with Starcross World first.
Okay, yeah. It's because you tried it out and didn't really care for it. Is that a fair... Or you just got bored with it?
I got bored with it. Yeah. I got to a point where I was just like, I don't know why I'm continuing to play.
What point was that? Was it... So the way that it works is, you're introduced to it, all that kind of stuff. And then it takes you through the...
And the characters talk about it for a while.
They do talk about it for a little bit, yeah. And then you play through a level and you're booted back to like Waddle Dee Town.
Yes.
And you have the option to jump back in. And is that where you tapped out?
So every like world has 2 levels that are like new, right? And for me, it was after the second of those worlds where I had gotten to the end, and there were like 2 like things, 2 objectives that like I hadn't uncovered.
Oh, sure.
And like one of them popped back up, and I was just like, oh god, I don't like. Do I want to go back into the level, or do I want to be like, no, completing this thing isn't important to me? And for just like in that moment, I was like, I'm done. And I did go back later and just sort of like mindlessly, plow through a handful of other levels. I did not finish it. But yeah, that's sort of the first time that I was like prompted with do I go back and get the things I missed or move on? That I was like exhausted by the question. And then just put the whole thing down.
Well, I'm definitely not here to tell you that you like missed, anything incredible. I played through the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
But I didn't 100% every level. I would just play it, get as many as I got, and then like continue through.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it in the sense that it was like, for me, like a greatest hits of playing Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Sure.
Like, I enjoyed that it was kind of like a speed run through the game. Like you said, each world has 2 levels that are kind of have this like Starcross World.
Which just sort of like a crystalline like overlay, right? That it's like it looks kind of icy, but like it's magic comet crystal.
Yeah, and it's been so long since I played Forgotten Land that I can't remember, but I think basically this opens up like a completely new path. It's essentially like a new level with the root of like an original level,
which to me they do feel like substantively transformed in terms of like the path you're on. But it's just so thematically married to what they were originally.
Yeah,
that like it doesn't feel like there's that much novelty in terms of environment here.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But again, it was fine for me because, like I said, it was like kind of speed running the game. You get 2 worlds from every level. There's like a final boss. And it just reminded me of the things that I liked about Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Like, it was fun to be the car mouthful mode again. I thought some of the new mouthful modes were fun, like the gear.
The gear, I think, is a standout. Yeah.
And I couldn't remember. Was the sandwich board part of?
I don't think so.
I didn't. Yeah. So there's like these.
Because you mostly use it as a sled, right?
Yes, these like levels that yeah, also a lot of times have like some secret objective or something for you to do it successfully enough to get one of the little creatures in it. So yeah, I thought it was a pleasant experience. It's not very long. It maybe took me like 3 or 4 hours to do the whole thing without 100% in each level. I do think it's funny as like a microcosm of a Kirby game. Like I was playing in wild mode, which is just like the little bit more difficult version of it. And so you get through the levels. The levels, I don't think I died ever, but there were a few times where, a boss got my health down pretty low or something like that. But then you get to the final boss, and it's like, oh my gosh, the difficulty ramps up to like an insane degree.
Yeah.
With that final boss. But I thought the final boss was like good and challenging, all that stuff. So I guess overall, I thought it was a fine package.
Yeah.
I think it's not really worth the $20 to me personally, but I had an okay enough time with it. And like I said, it just was a good sample platter of, now I don't need to go back and like replay Kirby in the Forgotten Land.
Maybe ever.
Maybe, because I got a good sense of it based on the DLC.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did do back in like the Waddle Dee town is I went back into the Coliseum because like there are like harder battles or like other stuff like that. And I realized I'd only like cleared one of the levels of it once, and I was like, oh, I can do this. This will be something. And like it's just sort of like the reminder to me that like, oh yeah, the combat is not what I come to a Kirby game
for.
And I'm always kind of wondering like, what is it I come to a Kirby game for? Like cute little worlds, fun music, transformations that are fun. I guess that's really it. And this game does, or the Starcross Worlds delivers on that kind of stuff, but like, I don't know, it just, maybe the ceiling for me on Kirby games and Kirby experiences is so low that like, I was just hitting that ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been so long since I've played Forgotten Land, and I remember really liking Forgotten Land. And I would say that I left this being like, yeah, that's like a fun, cute, pleasant experience.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess if you look at it as $10 for a visual upgrade and $10 for an extra little bit of content, but also I guess if you like really got into the gotcha mechanic of it, because they introduced
another two sets of those, right?
Sets of those little statues, and then if you did want to 100% and like do the challenges and all of it, I don't know, it's not that there is nothing there, but I was satisfied with my experience, and it's like not memorable enough probably to make my ranking of best Nintendo DLCs or anything like that.
And it also, like, in a lot of ways does feel like more of the same. Like, even though the mouthful modes are different, there are new mouthful modes, it doesn't feel like they've transformed like the way you interact with Kirby in the Forgotten Land or anything like that, really. And I'm sort of teeing that up because I do think that the Donkey Kong Bonanza Emerald Rush is that.
I do want to talk about Emerald Rush. One more thing on Starcross World, but also on like these Nintendo Switch 2 editions plus content stuff. Like we saw the one for Super Mario Party Jamboree, and they just announced
Jamboree TV,
and then they just announced the one for Super Mario Brothers Wonder.
Do you remember
Bella Park? I can't remember.
Meet up at Bella
Park. And I think TV Jamboree was kind of met with similarly in different reception. Makes me a little bit worried.
Borderline angry shrugs, I think, on Jamboree. And Starcross World is, I think, the sort of like neutral shrug. It makes me a little bit worried for Meetup at Bella Park as well. But I also don't know.
Right. I mean, from what we've seen, the package seems compelling.
Yes.
And
also
as, like the multiplayer part of it.
If we're quick ranking those three base games, like Super Mario Brothers Wonder, easy number one.
Sure. Yeah. Heads and shoulders above. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like so far these like Nintendo Switch 2 editions plus have not been particularly great.
Yeah, no, I'll agree. I'll agree with that. Bonanza.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I'm over the moon with this thing. I really, really like the Emerald Rush, and I think that I've played it on a couple different layers, and a bunch of different difficulty levels. But my favorite is DK Island. I think DK Island is the perfect playground for that style of gameplay. And like basically what it is there are bananas and fossils hidden all around the island, and eventually you will be given quests, or what's he call them, jobs?
I think, yeah.
Something goals by Void Kong that are almost always fight these enemies in this area. But sometimes they are, hit a checkpoint, go for a swim,
high five the eel things.
Yes. Yeah. Or high five Diddy Kong, or there are like other things like that it'll assign you. But for the most part, what you're doing is every time you collect a banana or a fossil, you are like leveling up like some sort of perk. You get like 3 possible perks presented to you, and they are usually multipliers for getting more emeralds as a result of some thing. Sometimes it's like what kind of enemy you're fighting that there'll be a bonus there. If you're defeating them while you are in a Bonanza transformation, if you defeat them by throwing something at them, if you defeat them by hitting them with while you're turf surfing, there's one that's like it multiplies the amount of distance you have turf surfed in this level. You know that like that is how the multiplier is based.
And there's also ones that are just like increase the amount, the
Yep.
frequency that like treasure chests show up when you're digging through terrain.
Right. Or increase your reward for completing a goal.
Yeah.
Either in terms of chips or in terms of emeralds. And then you can use the game when you do an Emerald Rush, it wipes all of your skills to 0. But you can buy the skills back for a certain number of Banandium chips as you're going. So
well, and when you're there's like 2 different. Okay, so because you can buy them back for Banandium chips as you're going, but then when you destroy bananas,
right,
it gives you a random skill. Yeah.
Well, it's not a random skill. It's you can see what it is.
Oh, you're right. It's not random.
Yeah. You can see what it is on the map.
Yeah.
And at higher difficulty levels, you don't start with your bonanzas, which I think is really cool.
And very hard.
And very hard to have a bonanza transformation taken away from you. And so I will almost always like gun for those things like as soon as the match starts. But so at the lower difficulty levels, it's like a 6-round thing. At like 2, I think it's 2 and 3, it's like 10, and then 15, and like they get higher.
Oh yeah, I haven't unlocked anything above like the 3 difficulty yet.
Yeah,
and I mean every round, Void Kong gives you a goal of like emeralds to collect.
Yes, and that he like then takes from you at the end of that round, and if you ever don't have enough to pay him, then you don't get to advance to the next round.
Yeah,
you still get rewards and like points at the end. And
yeah, it's like Salmon Run in that way.
Yeah, yes. And there's like a meta progression like card. Actually, it's very much like Salmon Run because you have like an ID and like you are working for
you're getting like promoted depending on the more you play.
And so like there's one like progress card that I'm like working my way through, and it's my understanding that there is a second progress card after that. So there's a lot to do and a lot to unlock in this. And for me, the moment to moment like gameplay of it, where I'm just like frantically dashing towards either the next goal or depending on what specific like perk build I have crafted. I was in the lagoon layer and had that killing enemies with turf surfing like up really high, and the those little like kill the little bug things. I had that multiplier really, really high. And so it was just like mowing down just like fields of these little bug guys while riding on a chunk and just like having a blast. I think this is super fun and a great way to like recontextualize the mechanics of Donkey Kong Bonanza into like a completely different style of gameplay.
Yeah, I think I was really surprised at how fun I found it. I thought it was super fun as well. Also you're given a certain number of like barrels that you
to
can
teleport.
that you can use to teleport. Um yeah, the first thing I did is I went to DK Island, and before talking to Void Kong, just kind of like explored the island to try to like see what it had and everything. And I was kind of disappointed because it's pretty empty. I think if you do not have access to Emerald Rush because you haven't
it's gonna be like
main
nothing
game yet, yeah, like there's really not a lot going on.
It's interesting you brought up Salmon Run because in a lot of ways the DK Island part of it does feel like the Inkopolis of the Splatoon 3.
Oh sure, yeah.
Where it's like, okay, yeah, like here's just this like other hub world you can run around, or eventually the what's the mode called?
Side Order.
Side Order, yeah, which is their roguelike, and this is like exactly the same thing where like here's one hub world that there's really nothing to do there that's unique or anything, but then the roguelike mode on top of that is like the real meat of the thing.
And the first time that I did an Emerald Rush, it was so chaotic. I didn't really understand what was going on.
Yes.
But then you do the second one, and for me, like, it was like, oh, okay, like I get this a little bit more. And you start realizing what the different perks are that you can do. Like, I feel like there's a lot of flexibility within it to decide how you want to achieve the goal. It's like, yeah, if you want to focus on destroying terrain and do multipliers for like the emeralds that will show up when you're destroying terrain, like the chest, like that sort of thing. Or if you want to focus on multipliers for finishing goals and just making goals your thing, or like you said, like certain enemies or something like that.
Well, or like there's one that rewards you for the number of skills you have, but then there's also a multiplier for how many Banandium chips you have. So like if you don't spend them to get your your
that's
skills
interesting.
back, so like it's another like fun kind of like push and pull there.
And I've always been focusing on the like I level up punching first, and then I level up how much I can gather.
The
like,
gather is so
ground.
important. Yes.
But yeah, I played it for maybe like 2 hours or something, and had a total blast with it. I completely agree with you that it's such a smart recontextualization of the mechanics of the game. I do wish there was a little more variety in like the goals, because I feel like it's
So have you done it outside of DK Island?
Yeah, I did the one. Is it it's the one where they there's like a bunch of like mud. And
the hillside layer.
The hillside layer. Yeah. I did it in hillside layer.
Hillside layer. I have not done all of them yet. But hillside layer is my least favorite of them. And part of it is because so much of that level is underground. And so like they'll keep giving you goals that are like underground, and it's like just fight these guys underground. But like I said, in the lagoon layer, there were a lot of different like goals and like different types of enemies to fight. Which I guess is still just like a variation on like defeat the crocoids or whatever. But yeah, I found that branching out into other layers opened up the variety of goals enough that I was like interested and excited by it.
And also, when I started doing Emerald Rush, it definitely changed my perception of DK Island.
Yes.
And so did you mess around with like getting statues from Squawks at all? And
yeah, so you just give him Banandium chips, and he goes and randomly gets a statue and puts it on the island.
And he puts it on different locations.
Yep.
And I found it so frustrating because there's no good way you can pick them up. You can't really place them. Unless
you can kind of put them down by pushing the R1 pushing R1.
Okay.
You'll like kind of put them down in front of you.
Okay.
But,
yeah, I could, for the life of me, I was just like throwing them all over the place, like smashing it into the ground.
Yeah.
And so eventually you can just like tell Squawks, or somehow there's a way to just like reset it.
Yeah, you tell
and
Squawks
have them go back. But okay, I'm gonna have to try this just R thing and see, because otherwise I found it so infuriating.
Yeah,
to try to place them anywhere.
Where were you trying to place them?
I was just trying to move it around and set it down nicely. Instead, I was just like throwing it around like a monkey. You mentioned this in the Discord. But on DK Island, there's like a fractone
Yes.
that you can probably explain it better than I can.
Okay, so it's Banandium tone. It is a banana-shaped fractone who is up on a floating island all by himself. And when you meet him, he doesn't speak to you really. He just has like a little speech bubble, and there is one character of the like Donkey Kong alphabet that is like looks like different bunches of bananas. And you can interact with him in the various ways that you can interact with everything, right? You punch straight, punch up, punch down, jump, turf surf, throw stuff, whatever. All the different ways. And if you hit him enough times, or like it's basically hit him enough times, you will go through the Bananium alphabet until it turns into the letter A, the Bananium letter A, and it turns gold.
Oh.
Which then changes the puzzle, and now there are two of them. And
two
letters, two symbols
okay, yeah.
in his speech bubble. And so then you have to figure out what you can do to him to make a letter change, and what you can do to him to make it like change which letter you're affecting. Okay? So up through the first 4 puzzles, it's always like that. Figure out the trigger. Sometimes it's like a clap. I think the second or third one, it's clap to like change which row you're affecting. And sometimes it's directional, which way you're facing, which way he's facing. And then like on and on from there. And like I spent a little time over the weekend like looking at Reddit, and people were like, has anyone figured this out? And then every now and then you'll see someone be like, yeah, it's simple, you just, and then there's the most complicated explanation. And this the Banandium tone doesn't announce itself in any way, and there's no indication that you get anything for decoding him, or that like decoding is good or anything like that. It is like a true mystery box up the top of DK Island.
Yeah, I love that. So I encountered it early in exploring DK Island, and then I forgot about it until you mentioned it in Discord. But now I feel like I've got to go back and try to like
just mess
figure
around
out
with
what
it.
the deal is. Yeah.
It's very cool. I like that it is so obtuse and so strange. And like maybe totally without reward. Another thing that I like about DK Island is it's beautiful. And all Diddy, Dixie, Cranky, and Rambi are all on the island. And anywhere where Rambi is, you can talk to him, and he can summon the 3 other
Which
Kongs.
I assume is for like photo mode.
It's for photo mode, yeah. Which I was messing around with for a little while on Sunday. And again, because the place is beautiful, it's just like fun to take pictures there. There's like King K. Rool's like boat is sort of like the galleon is like sunk out in the bay. There's DK's treehouse, which has like a sexy poster of Candy Kong and like a TV, and there's just like all these cool little places around there. And I just think it's such a fun space to inhabit.
I think so too. It felt a little empty to me. Like I wish that
there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
You have to like make your own.
You do, totally.
There.
Yeah. Also it introduces, I think as part of Emerald Rush, this mechanic where if you see piles of like bananas, yellow bananas, those heal you.
Yes.
Because having a certain amount of health is helpful in Emerald Rush. If you choose for it to be, you can get bonuses for defeating enemies while you're at full health and stuff like that.
And you can also get bonuses for healing beyond your maximum number of hearts. So like they're just like every single way that like you can interact with the game, Emerald Rush finds a way to like make that a specific perk if you choose it. And I feel every as you're like working your way through like the report card and like earning points and stuff, it unlocks new sets of perks that could appear at any time. So like it feels like there is so much more in there to discover, even though I probably played it already for like 4 or 5 hours. Like it is it just feels like fully featured and exciting to me.
Yeah, I'm itching to get back into it for sure.
I did hear a lot of, or saw a fair amount on online this weekend of people grumbling about the price, and like I don't know. It seems fine to me. Again, feels totally in line with Splatoon 3.
Yeah,
and I would rather pay for this than the Starcross Worlds or Jamboree TV. So,
yeah, 100%.
All right, Mark, I see you and I have both been playing Switch 2 launch games this last week.
I continue to make my way slowly through Nintendo Switch 2 Welcome Tour.
I love this.
And I feel like that's the right way, or for me, that's the right way to do it, because I get frustrated / bored with the speed of that game.
Right.
Where it's just like, okay, I'm taking these quizzes because I have to take these quizzes to get through this game. Yes. I guess you don't. I think you can just collect the stamps and see every area. But what I have been doing is
I guess that's true.
Collecting the stamps.
But you get medals,
doing the quizzes, right? And then doing like the medals so that I can play the mini games, all that kind of stuff. And it's like fun for a little bit, begins to be on the verge of frustrating, and that's when I know I should just be done with this for now. And slowly I will make my way through Welcome Tour. But it's the perfect pace for me to just be like, I'm going to do 2 letters today.
Right.
And then I'm going to, I did, the camera was the last one I did. So I was making, the mini game is like match the face. It makes silly faces, and then you have to try to like match it. And it scores you based on how closely you can get to it. And
on how silly your face is.
And how silly your face is. It's the first time that I've used the Nintendo Switch 2 camera at all. And it worked fine. So there you go, ring an endorsement.
Yep, that is in fact how the camera works.
But so that is my launch game crawl through.
And I've been continuing to play Mario Kart World. Sarah and I spent a little time last night playing Knockout Tour online, and I won one.
Oh, very good.
Thank you. All right, Mark, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week. Although maybe not.
Maybe not. But let's check in on the Nintendo Music app. This week, they added Super Mario Galaxy 2, which makes sense.
Yep. We're in a Super Mario Galaxy. That's the era that we're in right now, right? The 1 and 2 remakes, or not remakes, but 1 and 2 are coming out in less than a month. And the movie will come out next year. So yeah, Super Mario Galaxy 2. A great score. Big orchestral, brassy, really fun.
Yeah, I need to go back and listen to it, because the music for 1 is lodged into my head, and I don't really know the differentiation between like 2, or like what makes 2 different.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of similar stuff, but it just, more of it.
So not a lot to talk about as far as new released games go, but yesterday on September 15th, Lego Voyagers was released. And this is kind of a different type of Lego game. It's a 2-person co-op puzzle platformer type thing that's getting pretty good reviews.
Which is interesting and sort of exciting, especially because like so much of what we see from Lego now is like IP based.
Yeah, licensed games.
Yeah, so even when they're like, no, this is a different kind of Lego game, it's like, yeah, but it's Star Wars, and so it's still basically the same thing. Or like this the Lego Batman, what is that? What is that new one called? The new Lego Batman.
Oh, I can't remember.
It's like Legacy of the Dark Knight or something like that. Is another one that they're like, this is a new type of Lego game, and I'm like, we'll see. We'll see. I bet it's basically the same. But yeah, Voyagers does appear to be doing something all its own.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it as far as notable news releases.
Yeah, Hades 2 comes out next week. So yeah, everything get out the way. All right, Mark, let's get out of the new releases. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers don't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece.
All right, today we're going to be talking about Chopped.
The TV show, the television program Chopped.
Yes, where the way that it works is 4 chefs come into a kitchen, and then there is a appetizer round, an entree round, and a dessert round. and each round has a mystery box that is filled with like mystery ingredients, things that you wouldn't think go well together, and they're tasked within like 20 minutes or 30 minutes, depending on the course, with coming up with a dish that, you know, tastes good, but also uses the ingredients well and is creative. And then each course, somebody gets chopped, which means they get eliminated.
Right.
And they go, they're
It's
out
interesting
of the
that terminology didn't catch on for other shows.
The reason why this is coming up is because this has become my husband and I's like go-to, just kind of like need something to watch.
Right.
You know, and the episodes move really quickly. They're not very long. So yeah, we've been watching a lot of Chopped, but then you and I were talking a little bit beforehand, and Chopped has been on seemingly forever.
This was my observation. I have seen some episodes of Chopped, but not for a long time. Is it a Food Network show?
It is a Food Network show.
And I'm sure that's where I was watching it, was on Food Network. Like back in the day when you'd be like, all right, now we got to flip over and watch some Mythbusters. And then, you know, I can't even think of a third example of like a show like that. The Property Brothers.
Yeah, the Property Brothers.
That's just like, let's just watch this while our brains melt out our ears.
Yes, exactly.
So the question became, how many episodes of Chopped are there? / how long has the show been on the air?
Yeah.
And that's when Mark said, stop it. We'll do this for 433.
We'll talk about it for 433.
So the question, how long has it been on the, or should I guess number of episodes?
Okay.
What did you want me to guess before we started?
Yes. All right. Yeah. Well, first, when do you think Chopped premiered? Because it is still running. They still make new episodes of Chopped.
They still make new episodes of Chopped. I would say it premiered 2006.
Very close.
Yeah.
It premiered in January of 2009.
Okay.
So now guess.
That was a generous very close.
I mean, yeah, that's
I'm
a pretty
off by
good.
3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah.
In a couple of millennia of time. That's not
sure,
bad.
Yeah. Geologically speaking, I was so close.
Okay, now guess how many seasons have happened since 2009.
So since 2009, there have been 17 years, right?
But there
are not that many seasons. There are more than
there
that
are more
many
seasons. Yeah, they do more than one a year.
Geez, you can do 2 seasons of Chopped per year. Can you do more?
Yeah, can you do more?
Can you do more? So if there were 2, it'd be 34. I'm gonna say 41 seasons of Chopped.
That's a ton of seasons, and you're still 20 short. It's 61 seasons of Chopped. But really, like, what is a season? It's clearly just an arbitrary, distinction. But yeah, 61 seasons.
61 seasons.
Which leads us to how many episodes of
Sure.
Chopped do you think they've done? And I'm not counting specials. Just episodes of Chopped in 61 seasons.
Okay, 61 seasons. I'm going to say somewhere... Ooh, it's tough because season size, especially for like a cable TV show, like I would say on the high side 13 per season.
Right.
On the low side 6. So I'm going to go right in the middle at like 10 and say that there are 625 episodes of Chopped.
All of this television math is really good. So there are 749
okay.
episodes, which
is still off by 100.
but it's like about 12 episodes per season, so right in the range that you were discussing. That's it. 749. They're still pumping them out, and we started at the beginning, so we have quite a few episodes of Chopped to get us through whatever's to come in the future.
What would you say is like, are you noticing like trends or like things that change throughout the series, or is it like remarkably similar throughout?
Well, so we haven't made it through, I don't even know if we've made it through a season.
You're not even on season 30 yet?
We're not yet. But I know it's over.
It's
but
over.
I do want, I've got to talk about Chopped
just
a little bit longer. Okay, so some of the judges...
We didn't really talk about Chopped, so sure, go ahead.
So sometimes the judges are like, somebody will prepare a dish, and then they bring it up, and the judge is like, I really hate red onion. Why did you use so much red onion in this dish? And in my head, I'm like, this is not... And this judge gives this... Anytime somebody uses red onion, he's like, I don't like red onion. I'm like, how's that this person's fault? They didn't know that.
Yeah, I think if you're judging a cooking show, you got to just like
roll with it, right?
You got to roll with it and be like, red onions aren't for me, but I understand what they do to a dish.
Yeah, you can't be mad.
You can't be mad about
red onion unless you were like, maybe if they used it in another dish afterwards.
Sure.
And then it would be like, but
or if the show was called "Don't Use Red Onion" and then they do it anyway.
Maybe that would be one of the 39 specials that they've done for Chopped.
We were accompanied today by pianist Ji Liu. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
All right, so there was obviously a Nintendo Direct on Friday.
Oh.
And still, yeah, you might have heard about this, Patrick. You might have heard about people talking about it on a podcast even. But so some of this is just kind of like cleanup from the Nintendo Direct.
Yes.
So on the
Nintendo Direct makes a mess.
And now we're all just left picking up the pieces.
Right, we're all a little muddy. We don't know how we're gonna get these stains out of our sneakers.
Look, we just had a Virtual Boy size bus drive through our Nintendo house.
And look, I gotta say, you and I think reacted appropriately with like a wow, this is crazy, and we love it. And I feel like we were among the more tempered reactions around the internet. Every reaction that I saw to this thing was like utter bewilderment. I think only you and I were like, "This is cool. I want this."
The Virtual Boy thing.
Yeah.
Yes. The few, the proud, the Virtual Boy stands.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions that we had coming out of the Direct was around Super Mario Galaxy. It's, of course, being re-released in a package with Super Mario Galaxy 2 or separately. But in 2020, as part of 3D All-Stars, they had packaged Super Mario Galaxy in that game as well. And so we were not sure if it was, when we were recording, we didn't know if it was the same version, basically, that was on 3D All-Stars.
Right.
If there was something that made it different that would make it worth buying again.
Especially because the original 3D All-Stars package, which can no longer be purchased, was Galaxy, Sunshine, and 64 all together for $60. A pretty good deal for 3 games that I'm sure people complained about it being too expensive at the time. Whereas now this is Galaxy 1 and Galaxy 2 being packaged together for $70, as Mark mentioned, only the second ever $70 Switch 1 game. Or separately for $40. So that price tag starts to seem steep, especially if one of those games was already part of a collection that we bought.
Right. And so, when we talked on Friday, wasn't planning on buying both. I was just going to buy Galaxy 2 because I had access to Galaxy as part of 3D All-Stars.
Which is where I was as well.
But
actually, yes, that I was just going to get to. Go.
Yeah. Thanks to AV in the Discord for pointing this out. Super Mario Galaxy in this Switch package is not just like another re-release of the 3D All-Stars version.
Right. It seems to be like a new, that it actually is a port of it and not like emulated off of Wii software. Like, I guess we don't really know.
I don't really know. But they are touting some upgrades and changes to it. So,
which you can see, like it is visibly apparent in the footage of the game versus the footage from the All-Stars version.
Yeah, so here are some of the things that are different. Updated visuals, so it'll be 1080p on Switch, and they'll be releasing a free update for Switch 2 that will make it 4K.
Okay, good.
Updated menus and interfaces, so the fonts seem to be totally new, for example. Textures have been updated, some, but not all. It's not quite on the level, to my mind anyways, from the footage we've seen of like Metroid Prime Remaster.
Right. But it definitely is there and like gives the overall effect of like feeling less, smeared with Vaseline.
Yeah, totally.
So, and in some ways good and in some ways bad. Like the obscuring of the textures in the 3D All-Stars release, and I can only assume the original Wii release, does sort of like disguise some of those textures. But I think it is fun to actually see them. And like make out the cobblestones on the street or whatever.
Yeah, totally. And then also they re-rendered the cutscenes. So that's updated visuals. They also are introducing an assist mode where it'll give you additional health and it'll help you recover from falls without like taking damage and stuff. And some additional changes that they haven't delineated. But and this is something that can be toggled on and off at any time,
which is very interesting, right? Because I do think that Mario Galaxy is a pretty intense platforming challenge, right? Like and like some of the boss fights can be really tough. And it's just neat that, like, since that time they've done all these other things. So like, no, there's like a Toadette option, or you can play as Nabbit, or whatever, to make these games like easier either for kids or people who aren't like in for a hardcore challenge. And now that's part of this game too.
There's of course a new chapter in Rosalina's picture book. And then an entirely new book in Galaxy 2. So all these things, like the updated visuals, the assist mode, those are all in Galaxy 2 as well.
Right.
But I'm just focused on Galaxy because it's like a buying decision type thing for me.
So is it an entirely new book in Galaxy 2, or
Yes.
is it just the book from Galaxy 1 in Galaxy 2?
I on the Nintendo website, it's like an entirely new book in Galaxy 2.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot. And is also not then like repeated content from Galaxy 1.
That's right.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
There's also like a soundtrack mode where you can listen to the soundtrack of the game from the main menu.
But you can also do that from your Nintendo Switch music app.
That's right.
Or Nintendo Music app.
Amiibo support, which makes sense given the new Amiibo they're releasing around it. And then on Switch 2, you can play...
No indication of what that Amiibo support is, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And then on Switch 2, you'll be able to play with like Joy-Con 2 mouse controls.
Yeah, and like to what extent, like just controlling the because there's always like the little cursor on the screen that you can use to shoot star bits around,
and to gather star bits,
yeah.
Use, that's my expectation, is
that's all that is for. I guess I need to see it in action.
But we also don't have details on that either.
Right.
Well, and the game releases on October 2nd.
Really
so it's
soon.
Not that far away. So I'm guessing we're going to get like an overview trailer or like something.
Maybe they just
some of the stuff out.
Maybe they just like put it out,
Yeah, maybe.
Or we see it on the Nintendo Today app.
So, look, I would not advocate that somebody who owns the 3D All-Star version buy this separate version. But I'm sad to say that I personally am waffling.
I know, me too.
I'm not entirely sure. Because part of me is like, well, I'll just start by playing Galaxy 2, and then if I want to pick up Galaxy in the future, I'll do that. But then I'm like, well, if I just buy, like, I'd be spending $10 extra. I don't know. It's like a silly math equation. I think that the $70 is a lot. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Is basically what I come down on.
What I'm gonna do. There was something where I was like sort of grumbling to myself about the $70 Switch game. And it was like, oh, I wonder if it's voucher eligible. Like other Switch 1 games that are coming out after it are, right? Like Pokemon and Metroid Prime 4. And it is not. So,
that stinks, because that would have been a good. That would have been a reason to buy vouchers, and then
would have tricked me into buying another set of vouchers.
I know.
But yeah, it's I was looking for it, and then it's not. We do know that it's not a limited time like release.
That's right.
So I mean, but it's probably not going to like go on sale or anything for a while. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm going to end up doing. But also, to that point of it not being a limited release, on Friday's episode, Wario 64 and others at the time were reporting that initial stock of the physical releases to stores like GameStop would be limited. Like, it seemed like they had a limited number for pre-order. But yesterday, those same sources updated saying that pre-order limits at those retailers have been lifted, and it seems like stock will be plentiful.
Yeah. Which, why would you not? Although, why would you not sense. For 3D All-Stars? Like, it was the same kind of question, I guess.
But this is, but I think even more so for this because, they have a movie
Right.
that they want to sell.
Yes.
And there's not really, it's been a while since there's been a Switch game
Yeah.
of note.
True. I mean, the last time a Switch game came out was Xenoblade Chronicles, 6 months ago. So, like,
And right now it's like the number one best-selling Switch game on Amazon, which I
pretty
thought
funny.
at first I was like, that's impressive, but then I was like, well, what would it be competing against? I guess pre-orders for Pokemon or Prime or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, so they are in fact making some updates to the Switch, this new version of Galaxy.
So with that making you now waffle and like sort of debating, especially with the $70 price, has it changed your thinking at all, or at least like your approach to, I think you and I are both kind of like, well, these are luxury goods and sometimes these things are expensive. But do you feel like a little bit more bummed out than before, or like? Or how are you feeling? Has that changed for you at all?
Yeah, for this game specifically,
Yeah,
or just like in general.
In general, like kind of using this game specifically as like a vector for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's no denying that it's expensive. I saw something. I think Circana, like Matt
Piscatella.
Yeah, Piscatella. In the most recent kind of like report that he gave out to everybody, was saying that like the percentage of high income earners, like of the video game buying population, the percentage of high income earners, like something like over 100K, is growing, and the number of children that are buying are like is shrinking. Like basically like what you're saying, that look, video games have always been a luxury good, but console gaming is just being pushed more and more into that direction. Like in everything else that we see in our society, kind of like the middle is being squeezed out.
Yeah.
And
which makes perfect sense because like kids are mostly playing free games.
Right. Well, and it makes you wonder about like the long term.
Yeah.
Like how does Nintendo continue to appeal to new, younger audiences when so much of their products,
right?
Like something like Virtual Boy, that is for 40-year-olds.
Yes.
That is, not for children. That is for like 40-year-olds with disposable income that are like.
I mean, it may like legally not be for children, and that like it'll hurt their eyes.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Where it's like
yes,
$100 to spend in the US. It's $100 to spend on this like piece of plastic and so in that way, it's kind of sad to me to have like Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 Galaxy 1 and 2 to be luxury goods in a way.
Right. And like sort of that's the part that is that's bumming me out. First of all, I did say that the games that we've been getting, the Nintendo Switch 2 plus whatever editions, that they should have dropped the prices of those to $40 on Switch 1 and then still had the $20 upgrade paths. Because like those games, Mario Party, Kirby, and Super Mario Brothers Wonder, those should be games accessible to children, right? And that they like if it's $20 cheaper and a parent can just be like, yeah, great, we buy you this instead of Mario Kart World or instead of Donkey Kong, because it's cheaper. Great. And like I don't know why they didn't go down that road here. Because like it's sort of impossible to just if you were buying a Switch 2 for a kid today and they wanted the new Mario Party game, it would be impossible to justify an $80 price tag for Jamboree plus Jamboree TV.
Right.
Right? Like it just.
And I guess their argument would be, well, you could just buy Jamboree.
$60.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know. It's definitely a.
Oh, sorry. So all of which is to say is that like I think Galaxy should be in that same boat. That like you're right to bemoan it being a luxury good. No, that should be, especially with all these like accessibility options of like you can be invincible and recover from falls and stuff. Like that's designed for the kids who are going to want to see the Mario Galaxy movie next year.
Right. And look, I do see, you could buy just one of them and you could,
of course,
you could spend like the $40 or something. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's something that as people who love video games and grew up with video games, and that was obviously such a formative thing for us, it is something we should all be a little bit worried about for the long-term health of the industry if it just becomes so much of a like uh
like
expense.
a premium
a
product.
premium experience.
Yeah, especially, and that really leads the question of like, because like games get popular, games get big and have audiences because they are playable, right? Because they're accessible. The Game Boy wasn't, a stellar hit because it was a fancy piece of tech, is because it was like lowest common denominator. Everyone could afford to, put 4 AA batteries in it and play it for like 100 years. And then the games were cheap and like everything. It does make you, like you say, kind of worried about like what rises up to fill that void.
Especially when the alternative is, hey, my kid can play Roblox for free on devices I already own. And, like...
Or Fortnite.
Yeah, exactly. Among Us, like, there are so many experiences like that.
Which are already, like, the popular thing.
Yeah,
right?
And, our, like, Minecraft, like, are good, like, experiences.
Yep.
There's
to whatever, yes.
Yeah. But, also... when you look at least in the United States, the cost of you can't even argue that like, oh, you could start with a Switch because the cost of a Switch just went up. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
it's and some of these things are out of Nintendo's control, obviously, but
software isn't.
Software isn't, and it's a industry wide concern, I think, or should be,
right?
That the demographics are changing. And that kind of, I think, worries me a little bit.
I do wonder if Nintendo is just like, no, we'll get kids with the movies. If like that's because that's always been like part of their stated goal of like the movies and theme parks and stuff like that, is that it directs people back towards the games.
Right. But
you still got to be able to afford those games.
Yeah. Another kind of like cleanup from the Nintendo Direct. So we were talking about the Kirby Air Riders amiibo that were announced, and 2 were announced, and then they teased
$50 each.
$50 each. I mean, notable to this discussion. They teased more Kirby Air Riders amiibo updates in the future, and we had kind of like differing interpretations of this.
Yes.
You interpreted it as they're going to announce more like amiibo, like physical amiibo, and I interpreted it more as they're just going to do those 2 amiibo, but we will learn more about the functionality in the future. But Kyle in the Discord pointed out that the tease seems to be more about like more physical amiibo, like product, because that screen that they use to tease more updates in the future looks very much like an amiibo box.
Yeah, it's that like blister pack box with like the trademark like sort of retail hook hole,
Yeah, that you would use to hang like amiibo on a wall or something. So yeah, I guess maybe it is going to be more $50 amiibo.
I was at CVS the other day buying canker sore cream. And first of all, it took me a long time to find it because it's not with the rest of the medicine. It's in like a different part of the store. But it had one of those like little protection things on the end of that like retail hook. And like a little button next to it being like, call for help. And I called for help, standing around, minutes pass. I push the button again, calls for help, minutes pass. No one comes. And so then I just ripped it off. I didn't steal it, but I like ripped it off the peg, breaking the packaging, and then did self-checkout. So like at no point did anyone help me. But I paid for it and bought the thing.
I feel like
it's very annoying.
The little stoppers at the end of the hook are the worst because they look like, if you're not paying attention, you're like, I can just grab this freely.
Yes. But also, like, if I can free it from the hook just by like tearing it, then what are you actually doing?
Everybody hates those things.
Yes, everybody hates those things. So great. It looks like we're probably going to get more amiibo from Kirby Air Riders. Another thing that I was thinking about is, we have Kirby and Bandana Waddle Dee riding the Warp Star and the Winged Star, respectively. Sakurai in his interminable 45-minute long direct was very specific to say that in this game we don't just have stars and bikes, we have other types of machines that the characters ride as well, including a chariot. He talks about how cool the chariot is. And it is not a star, it is not a bike, it is a third kind of thing. The fact that the two amiibo that we have right now are both riding stars, I think we have to at least get the other types of machines represented.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, we were sort of speculating, like, well, how deep does this go? Will you be able to buy packs that are just machines, packs that are just characters? I am worried about how many amiibo they're going to try to release for this thing.
Well, also, I can't believe when I was saying no more that I forgot they for sure going to release a Starman one, right?
Oh, yeah, they gotta. Starman, Meta Knight for sure, probably DDD.
It feels like a lot.
I agree.
For Kirby Air Riders.
I agree.
Like, I don't know. I feel like in the circles I travel in, the enthusiasm for this game is not, like, through the roof. It just seems fine. I think people pretty much can see it and decide pretty quickly based on what we've seen so far, like, is this for me or is this not for me?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
It feels like a weird risk, but, like, to your point of, like, well, they'll charge you $100 for a Virtual Boy thing. Like, I wonder if they're just banking on the super fans to buy them all.
Should we do $1 million bet, like, over under 45 minutes for the next Mr. Sakurai Presents?
I thought you were gonna say for the number of amiibos released for Kirby Air Riders. I think the next one's gonna be a little bit shorter.
Oh, okay.
I think 37 minutes.
Okay,
is what
37.
Where do you think?
I think I'm taking the over.
You're going over.
I think he's at least going for 50 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So it's on the listeners to remember that. We don't have a date for that, right?
No, we don't.
Okay.
No, it's just a threat, like, looming out there.
Right.
I don't know. I love Sakurai, and I'm willing to be convinced about Kirby Air Riders, and I don't think it looks bad. I just don't know that it looks like something that's like that I'm super interested in. But I could not make it through that direct, and the idea of a second one of those.
It's just
who is this for?
It's insanity.
When Final Fantasy VII
It's for Masahiro Sakurai.
Yeah. That's true.
For, yes.
That's true. And as long as he's happy, I'm happy.
Right.
When Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade launches on Nintendo Switch 2, the Xbox Series S and X, and Xbox on PC in January, it's going to include a new streamlined progression feature with an eye to letting all players experience the full story. So it has these options that you're going to be able to toggle off and on, or just, like, ignore them altogether if you want to play it regularly.
And they're off by default, right?
I would assume so.
Okay.
I would assume so. HP is always full, so you never lose HP.
Right.
MP is always full, so you can do spells and spills. Whatever you want.
Right.
Your limit gauge is always full.
You can always do a limit break.
You can always do a limit break. Your ATB gauge is always full.
So, Mark, the ATB gauge is the active time battle gauge, which, as you are playing Final Fantasy VII in battles, you are, like, doing regular attacks, like, melee attacks, Cloud swinging his sword around, and that fills up your ATB gauge. And when your ATB gauge has, like, filled a notch of it, sometimes characters have 2 notches or 3, then you can do a special move. Special move can either be a limit break, a spell, or a skill, or something. But the, like, whole way the combat system works is that you're doing these sort of, like, minimal attacks to build up the ATB gauge, and then spend the ATB gauge to do the more powerful attacks, which are sort of like menu-based things. You can also, like, quick map to other buttons on the controller. But so this means that if you were to use this, the ATB gauge is always full. You don't have to waste time swinging your sword.
And then finally, damage dealt is always 9,999. So really the idea is, get through battles as quickly and as easily as you want to, and then be able to focus on the story progression.
And there are parts of story progression, and there's like a lot of like puzzle and exploration stuff that is like time consuming and difficult in Final Fantasy VII Remake. But there are some genuinely tricky combat challenges in Remake that are not side bosses or whatever, but are just like things you gotta beat. So I can see where if what they're trying to do is like usher people through the story so they can either play the next one or just like even do this in the next one, that like they have that option.
Yeah, totally. And there's like a little in the press release that was announcing this, there was a little explanation from the director of the game, Naoki Hamaguchi, who explained basically that, where it's like, hey, people want to play games for tons of different reasons. They have different like amount of time that they can use playing games. Our goal with including this stuff is to make it as approachable to everybody so they can experience Final Fantasy VII and hopefully basically be interested in, completing the series as it is released.
I think it's also especially important because the original Final Fantasy VII was such a big thing when it was released, and like people who may want to revisit that now, who either haven't kept up with games or, but you know what I mean, that they're like, there totally is a class of person who played Final Fantasy VII back in the 90s and sees that there's like a cool remake where all the characters look amazing and the music is awesome and things are different, and like may want to experience that but not have any path in through modern video games, let alone a dense 40-hour RPG. But if they can sort of just like spam their way through the weird combat encounters, like it becomes accessible.
Yeah, I think I'm glad the option exists for sure. When I played the Chrono Cross like re-release for a little bit, I never finished it, but I like turned on some of the some of these sort of what do you call it? Like
streamline thing. Sometimes they just call them like quality of life.
Yeah. Like I turned some of those on, and my experience with that was that like, yes, you progress through it pretty quickly, but I lost all joy in playing Chrono Cross. And I think part of it is that
part of that is Chrono Cross, but
part of that is Chrono Cross, and like the kind of like PlayStation 1 busy work type thing that are like the in-between interludes weren't that fun either. And so there wasn't really anything. There wasn't really like any reason to continue playing other than to like see how the story progressed, and I could just watch a Let's Play for that. So I think it really is, from my experience, has been that it's like a fine balance of
totally
how much help you need and how much like the game just doesn't become enjoyable to experience. But that's totally on a case-by-case, person-by-person basis.
Totally. I mean, I know that I was messing with those settings in the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, just because, like, especially games that I'm replaying where I'm like, oh, I remember the random encounters in this being a pain in the butt, and it really, like, slowing down my sense of exploration of these spaces. And so, like, I would go into the area, do 4 times experience boost for, like, the first 20 minutes and then turn off random encounters, right? And then like just explore sort of freely, and having that as like a sort of compromise between like experiencing the annoying part of the game. You can always like turn it back and like play most of the game normal. But yeah, they're just parts that you're like, okay, I'm sick of this now. Let's get on to the next bit, and that's like to the game and to my benefit.
Also, if you pre-order the game right now, it includes, I thought it was just part of the deluxe edition, but at least right now, if you pre-order the regular game, it also will come with the original. So
very cool.
Yeah, I never picked up the original on Switch, so I will have both when that game comes out.
I do have it on Switch. I have like every Final Fantasy game on Switch for some reason. I've played so few of them there.
Not part of the Direct, but also announced on Friday, Capcom is bringing a new Mega Man collection to the Switch next year, Mega Man Star Force Legacy Collection.
Wow, a Mega Man sub-series that I like know virtually nothing about.
Yeah, I had to look it up as well. It's apparently a follow-up series to the Battle Network games, and they were all released on Nintendo DS. And there are 3 games, Star Force 2, and Star Force 3, but they all had multiple versions, kind of like doing like a Pokemon thing.
Right.
So Star Force had Pegasus, Leo, and Dragon, and then they just go to 2 versions. So Star Force 2 had Zerker cross Ninja and Zerker cross Saurian, and then Force 3 had Black Ace and Red Joker. And so the stories, you would experience the whole thing in a single game. It was just transformations and like specific battle cards and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure.
Were unique to each version. It promises an updated and enhanced experience compared to the original, but otherwise, yeah, they're really they're gonna run out of Mega Man Legacy collections.
Mega Man Legends Legacy Collection when? When, Mark?
Is there just the 2 games?
There's the 2 games, and then there's the Misadventures of Tron, which I feel like you could lump in there. As she is, that's also like in that very much that same style. But then yeah, I think that's kind of it. Although I guess you and I played some of the Game Boy Mega Man games. Those have never been collected in a Legacy collection.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the fact that they, instead of being in a Legacy collection, they just release them as part of the Nintendo Classics makes me think that Capcom does not value them very much.
They must not. It's a good point.
Remember earlier this year when accessory maker Genki showed off 3D printed replicas of the Switch 2 at their CES booth and did multiple interviews talking about like details about the system before Nintendo had officially announced it?
Yeah. I remember that. I mean, I also remember like Game Shark saying like, we're back with Switch 2. That was like last year, right?
I don't remember that.
It was a long time ago.
Well, Nintendo later sued Genki, and I can't remember if we talked about that or not. But now...
I think we kind of avoided it because it's like, what are you going to say about it?
Right. Well, here's something to say about it. They have now reached a settlement agreement. So Genki is paying Nintendo an undisclosed amount of money, and then they also agree to stop using logos, trademarks, colors, or anything else that allude to Nintendo products. So, there you go.
Well... All right. I mean, you got to honor those NDAs, I guess.
Yeah. I think I said it before, and I'll say it again. Genki always reminds me of what do they call the grandma in Arrested Development?
Gangi.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lucille Bluth.
Yes.
The grandma.
Is she not?
I mean, you're right. R.I.P. Jessica Walters.
R.I.P. Finally, the website TimeExtension.com recently published an interview with former Nintendo of America employee Leslie Swan. Swan worked at Nintendo for 28 years, starting in 1988 in customer service, and then at Nintendo Power, and also played a major role in game localization. The entire thing is worth reading, so I'll add a link to it in the show notes. Definitely worth checking out. But some highlights for me is just when she talks about like the early days of Nintendo, and it sounds like such a small collaborative place. Like she talks about being asked to go to Kyoto to work on localization for Mario 64, even though she had like no real localization experience, but Nintendo at the time didn't have a localization team.
Sure.
And so like she goes into work and her boss is just like, do you have a passport? Because you should go to Kyoto and do this. And so she talks about like it's her, Miyamoto, and a translator, and they're just going through her like localization. Yeah. And she's answering Miyamoto's questions about like why she's making the choices that she's making and stuff like that. Like, what an amazing experience.
Yeah, pretty cool.
And she talks about how she ended up being the voice of Princess Peach in Mario 64, and it's because she was the only English-speaking person in the development area of EAD. For Mario 64, she also discusses how she came up with the idea to make Princess Peach Toadstool, to bridge the gap between the Japanese and US names for the character. She also did voices and sound effects for WarioWare and other games, some where she isn't credited at all because people would just get pulled into projects if something was needed and just be like, hey, go down to the booth and, like say these words for us. There's also discussion about the localization process of the first Animal Crossing game for GameCube and the difficulty of like finding a name that would clear legal. And then also, like, she talks a little bit about how much work that Animal Crossing game was, where they just lock themselves in a conference room and be like, okay, today we are naming every piece of furniture in this collection. Because, there's
it all needs names, right?
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, really worth reading. I had never visited timeextension.com before, but it seems like it has a lot of great interviews and content like this. And like I said, I'll put it in the show notes.
That's cool and like paints a like kind of fun and exciting picture of what it is like to be doing creative work at Nintendo. Mark, I know you've recommended this to me before, but the documentary series on the making of Frozen 2.
Have you watched it?
Yes, I have.
Isn't it so crazy?
It's insane. And it feels like the opposite side of the coin of like, okay, here you are in a space with like 1,000 creative people all working on something together, where like they seem so hamstrung by lack of like singular clear vision. And like I wonder if just having figures like Miyamoto, who's like in there and getting his hands dirty, if like that's all the difference in the world. Because like when you watch this documentary, is it called Into the Unknown? Or
I think so.
okay.
Yeah, it's like the making of Frozen 2 on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's 6 episodes. Each one is about half an hour, and it is like it's a like riveting look at what it takes,
like warts and all, because
yes,
it's like the movie comes out in a month and they are like, we don't have an ending, we don't know what the story of this is.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of we don't know what the story of this is. There's a lot of like the central question, or one of the central questions of Frozen 2 is what is the voice that Elsa is hearing, and like they bring that up like 4 months to they're like, okay, we need a decision on what this voice is. Is it a spirit? Is it herself? Is it her mother? And it's like that seems like a core like central thing. Anyway, but when they do need to make a change on a dime, there's this army of people who can like execute on these things, which is obviously the value of that model and the value of like we're gonna lock everyone in a room and name pieces of furniture all night long. And it's just like such a fascinating way to approach art. And like I don't. Is it good? Is it bad? Or is it just strange?
Well, you also wonder, like, I think that has to be a huge struggle for Nintendo's so secretive. We would never have a documentary.
Right.
Like the fact that they released that Disney Plus documentary is pretty incredible, because
I think so too.
It's not that anybody like comes out of it looking bad. It just shows you the struggle
that
movie.
And
like,
at the end, they're very careful to be like, and it's breaking record. And
right. I mean, yeah. We're getting 3 and 4.
Yeah.
But like
we're getting 4.
We are, yeah.
Okay.
But like Nintendo doesn't reveal.
But they don't know how those movies are going to end either.
Well, they've given themselves time. It was supposed to come out in 2026, and they pushed it to 2027. The first one,
right?
So
we're just shifting
I think they're trying to avoid
over to Avengers.
right, exactly. But no, like, who, like, the picture of the little glimpses we get of what it's like to work inside Nintendo is it's not like that, right? They're pretty. They give people the time that they need to do things right, like all that kind of stuff. They're not necessarily working up against a deadline, but as Nintendo grows and gets bigger and bigger. I think they definitely risk losing some of that, like magic, that stuff that has made them so special and successful.
Yeah, it's an interesting parallel, just because like that's also what we were talking about before of like Nintendo products sort of universally becoming premium brands or like luxury products. That like that's sort of what's happening to movies as well. That like going to the movies used to be a cheap thing that like. That's a cheap night out is you go spend $5, you see a movie, and get some popcorn, and that like it is pulling away from being like the working man's fun night out.
Well, especially as they're making fewer and fewer movies.
Yes.
Then like for companies, the stakes get higher and higher as well.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, you can't spend $20 million to make some comedy. Hope it makes 50 and call it good. It's like, no, if every movie doesn't make $800 million,
right, then it's a disaster.
Yeah.
Well, Seth Rogen was just on Blank Check when they were doing Big Lebowski. They're doing the Coens right now. It's a really fun episode. But one of the things that he's talking about as far as like comedies being released in the theater is that like it used to be that you could count on a comedy or any movie in the 90s, whatever, early 2000s, making $40 million on DVD. So like wherever it landed box office wise, was fine, because you make the movie for like 20 or 30, and then like it's gonna make it up on DVD. So like the actual box office is all gravy. That second market doesn't exist now.
And all these things, you look at it and you're like, oh, companies did it to themselves.
Yeah.
These are all self-inflicted wounds in the chasing of trends.
Right. And like luckily video games they've done other like destructive things, but it's really only been Xbox that's been like, here's our subscription and all this stuff, that all of our premium products are available for free day one on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Everyone else has resisted that kind of like subscription model. And I just wonder for how long they can continue to do that. But maybe like video game for sitting it out can see like the streaming model damage the like movie and TV companies so much, and then just not ever do it.
The other thing that I wanted to comment on in relation to that Frozen documentary is I think it also shows how kind of like unique and cool it is that Nintendo is willing to like take risks with their franchises in some ways, right? Where it's like a Mario game could be anything, and sometimes and we like expect a Mario game to be completely different and to surprise us, and it's kind of disappointing if it doesn't, because I think it would be really easy to like feel a lot of pressure. You're making a new Mario game or whatever, because I feel like with like Frozen 2 they felt a lot of pressure where it's like, oh my gosh, like we have to be so precious with this thing because we don't want to
wreck it. We don't want to be like untrue to the character voices. We also don't want the characters to stagnate. They have changed over the course of the first movie, so in the second movie they have to have that change reflected in who they are. All of that kind of stuff. And like, yeah, they talk a lot about like how much that the legacy of the first movie like hangs over the creation of the second,
and can like lead to paralysis.
Yeah.
And again, just from the outside, we have no idea what goes on inside Nintendo, but I think their willingness to take risks in that way can be really rewarding.
All right, Mark, that's all the news we got. Let's close this out. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, if you're not in the Discord, you should be. Email us. We'll let you in there, and we can keep talking about all this stuff. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. From my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.